Hello everybody and welcome to Deceptions of the Ages News. The deep state, what exactly is it? We're going to talk about that today in some detail. Now, if you're new to this channel, I want to explain to you that here we talk about the three topics in my book, Deceptions of the Ages, Mormons, Freemasons, and Extraterrestrials. And today we're going to talk about one of the biggest deceptions of them all, or at least lately, the so-called deep state. Now, you hear all this stuff in the media about a deep state, but they never tell you what exactly it is. So today we're going to find out exactly what they mean when they say deep state. If you're into the topics of Mormons or Latter-day Saints, Freemasons, and Extraterrestrials, go ahead and subscribe. We'd really like to have you, and we put out content regularly. We try to do it every day, but at least 4 to 5 times a week. So go ahead and stay up to date by subscribing and clicking that handy little subscribe button. And also, don't forget to share these videos with your friends. I'm sure that they would find them interesting as well, as we really go into in-depth discussions about some of the biggest topics of today. Now, one of the biggest deceptions we see today is something that we continually hear about in the media, and it's called the deep state. Now, the deep state seems to be running the country. The deep state is after Trump. The deep state is colluding with the Russians. Deep state this, deep state that, hit me on the head with a wiffle ball bat. All right, the first thing we have to understand is the reason that everybody talks about is deep state, but nobody explains what it is because there's actually no such thing as a deep state. The term deep state is just another loaded word like you'll see in my book, Deceptions of the Ages, Mormons, Freemasons, and Extraterrestrials. It's just a word that they came up with, or actually 2 words that they came up with, to describe a mythical situation so that the non-thinking and dumbed-down public and media will just accept this code word, this loaded phrase, and just write it off as, oh yes, the deep state, the deep state. It's just like how you think about something like a conspiracy theorist, or a UFO, or a UFO buff. Now, if you would you like some more information about how the government manipulates you and the media manipulates you with these loaded phrases, go ahead and read my book, Deceptions of the Ages. Aren't all Americans on the same side? Well, as we're going to see, apparently the answer to that is not quite so simple. In the old days, the intelligence communities recruited from a pretty small group of people and a fairly homogeneous group of people, so no question about we're on one side, everybody else is on the other. Back in the day, when they recruited people into these intelligence communities, they recruited them for their abilities. Unfortunately, over time, especially in the 1970s and 80s, a thing called affirmative action came into play. And suddenly, no longer were people being hired into the intelligence communities because they were the best people for the job. So, with social and racial political hiring agendas taking over the government, this also affected the intelligence communities. So suddenly, you were no longer hiring people because they believed in America, they believed in democracy and the American way. Suddenly, you are hiring people because of their political, their racial, and their religious agenda. This hiring of people who are not loyal to the United States really took off during the Obama administration, when his so-called economic recovery was nothing more than a massive deficit spending program in which he hired millions of people who actually have no loyalty to the United States. And he made sure that the intelligence communities were staffed with a lot of people who, to put it bluntly, are nothing but America's worst enemies. Let's talk about the three types of infiltration that have taken place within our intelligence communities. The first type of deep state person or type is what we call the racist or religious jihadist. Now, these are people who feel that their cultural group or their religious group has somehow received some kind of an injustice, and they were hired to come in and bring about some kind of equality to that group, and now they have an agenda to make sure that people who oppose their political viewpoint, and that would be the political viewpoint of Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama, those people are the enemies, whether or not they're American citizens. So they will use the government to audit them, spy on them, and basically destroy their lives. Okay, now the second type of deep state type is somebody who's there for simply economic opportunities. Now, we have seen no end of scandals of spies who have been caught selling information. Of course, there's no end of officials within the FBI and within the intelligence agencies who have been caught up either in political scandals where they've been taking money, their relatives have taken money from political candidates or from political organizations, or finally, these people have CIA spies, intelligence agency spies are caught accepting bribes, selling information. We see no end of intelligence officials, FBI officials getting caught in scandals, spying on people, giving away a laptop, doing whatever, or they're basically operating outside of the law. And finally, there is the opportunist who uses his intelligence community work for later on they work for the media. And so there is a big tie between the media who hires these people later on as experts on their panels and these operatives. So is that another form of corruption? Of course it is. Okay, now finally, the last deep stater I want to talk about are the ones who operate deep cover. I mean, these guys are doing black projects, and they do things like they fund ISIS, and they basically make sure that opposition groups around the world keep killing other people. Now, what does this do? This keeps our armaments industry going, and that keeps the companies who need, or the countries who need to borrow to buy those arms, they have to keep selling their national treasures, their resources, in order to buy arms to defend themselves against these people that are put into place by the deep state. So ISIS, Al-Qaeda, there's no end of organizations, and of course we don't have any idea who and what all these organizations are. But these are deep operatives, and they are completely black. We have no idea what they do, except that they do one thing, and that is to make sure that somebody somewhere is killing somebody so that they need our weapons, and they need to buy arms, and they need the financing to do that. Now, these deep state operatives, this third type, these guys answer directly to the banks. These people have just either taken outright kickbacks, or they've been offered jobs within corporations or the security community and intelligence community privately outside of their work when they finish working for the government. Now, the question is, what's going to happen now? Because as we can see, this so-called deep state, or which is really, let's forget the term deep state. Let's just call them infiltrators, okay? Foreign infiltrators. They want to control the American people, and they certainly don't want somebody like Donald Trump in the White House who's going to protect the interests of American people. So we're going to see a continued back and forth between these people, these infiltrators within the intelligence community, and the Trump administration and the American people. And so this is going to play itself out, and how it's going to end, we have no idea, but this is what it is. And so I want you guys to understand that the term deep state it's a mythical term. It's like Jaws waiting off the coast to attack somebody, and there's nothing you can do about it. Well, there is something you can do about it, and President Trump is trying to take out these anti-American operatives within our intelligence communities. But it's going to be a tough go, and they do have the ability now to spy on us, and also understand finally that the deep state not only involves the intelligence community uses Twitter, they use Facebook, they use YouTube, they use Google. All of these organizations are mired into one. So are they all infiltrated by anti-American rhetoric, people who hate the United States, people who hate Christians? Absolutely. So you can see the way they're manipulating views on YouTube and canceling people's account on Twitter, that the same people who have infiltrated the intelligence communities have also infiltrated. It's the same actors. And I'll give you just one example before I go. The SEAL team that took out Osama bin Laden was attacked in Afghanistan. And nobody knows how the people who were waiting to ambush that team that was somehow packed the whole team onto a very large moving Chinook helicopter, nobody knows how they knew that helicopter was coming. Unless you know that there are Pakistanis in the Hillary email server scandal that had access to everything that was happening at that time, and they of course would have had information on the movements of that SEAL team. So that is just one example of how deep we have been infiltrated by our enemies. And if we don't do something about it very soon, then we may as well hang it up. I'm Matthew Hines. We'll see you next time on Deceptions of the Ages News.